um, the juvenile life sentences reached the Supreme Court, and it was originally overturned. The Supreme Court overturned in 2012, October 2012, the ability of our justice system to sentence a juvenile to life. Yesterday, they applied it retroactively. And that's that's a really great thing, because think about for how long we've been imprisoning minors for, granted crimes they allegedly did commit, gruesome crimes, but we imprison children. I'm thinking of the young man in Florida who was Tate was his last name. Tate was his last name. I was a kid when he got arrested, and he got sentenced to life in prison for he was wrestling with a girl, a 6-year-old girl. He was 12. He was wrestling with a 6-year-old girl and killed her. And he said he accidentally killed her. The prosecution had no mercy on him. They offered him 30 years. He didn't take the 30 years. He went to trial and he was sentenced to life. Now, a lot has happened and transpired since then. The sentence was rescinded, and he got, there's a lot of things that happened after that. But the point is, when you are 13 years old and you're faced with a life sentence, how does that even calculate? How does a child process that their life, which has not begun in earnest, is now over? That's number one. But number two is, how do we do that as a society? How did we do this for so long? Why was this ever acceptable? Which brings me to the other thing that I missed yesterday, which was President Obama banning solitary confinement for juveniles. Like, seriously, why was that ever a thing? Why was it okay? Why did anyone in America feel that it was okay to give a life sentence to a juvenile, to a child, to children? And arguably, we had the conversation with the Progressive Army a few weeks ago, deciding, or questioning, when is a person actually an adult? Because we push, if you're 15, there's a good chance you're going to be tried as an adult. If you're 17, you're sure as hell going to be tried as an adult. 18, forget about it. You're a full-fledged adult. But then we're also talking about this being applied to people who are 12 years old. And so why was it ever okay in our American history of us trying to be civilized, right? Let's forget about the I think it was a 11-year-old boy that they executed, 11-year-old black boy that they executed in the electric chair because they thought he raped to a white girl, right? Let's forget about our barbaric past for a minute. We won't forget about it long, but let's just talk about this quote unquote civilized period where we have been imprisoning for life 12-year-olds for crimes. And not only that, but while they're in jail, federal prison, they were placed in solitary confinement. There is a real problem with our criminal justice system and what we allow to go on and what we allow to be done, not only to adults, but damn it, to children. And I think even in Pennsylvania, where it went as far as a judge selling convictions of juveniles to for-profit prisons, because the for-profit prisons needed to be able to fill up the beds. And they were throwing kickbacks to the judges. Like, if you don't have a modicum of compassion for children and the mistakes and the things that they do, like every mistake is not something that is unintentional, right? Committing a crime at a certain age, knowingly and willingly, when you're a child, that's still a mistake. And now having that mistake lead to not only a life sentence, which is now over, thankfully, but also leading to you could possibly be locked up in solitary confinement as a child. I'm just wondering, why was any of this ever a thing in our civilized history? Or maybe the problem is that we never really been civilized in America. We do some barbaric shit from time to time, and we do it to our own children. And if you do it to our children, right, Kent State, if we do things to children, then what do you expect them to do to grown adults? So that's an indictment against the United States of America that this has ever been a thing in the first place. But thankfully, President Obama banned it on the federal level. He can't do anything on the state level. So on a state by state level, it might actually still be happening. And the Supreme Court has now retroactively applied life sentences to minors. That has they can now appeal those life sentences. All right.